Welcome to the Dad Show podcast. How y'all doing?
So as you can see, I've got Lincoln here with me today. We're here to tell you that the episodes are going to start being just a little bit different from now on. Instead of releasing it on Monday all at once, we're going to release a little bit of every episode every day. So you'll get to listen to 15, 20 minutes today and so on and so forth for the rest of the week until we're finished up with the episode. So check back every day with us. It's part 1 today. Is that correct, Lincoln?
Yes.
Thank y'all for listening. Have a great day.
You too.
Welcome to the Dad Show podcast, a show all about impacting, empowering, inspiring, and uplifting information to become a better dad, husband, man, and mentor. And now your host, Ryan Ladd.
Welcome back to the Dad Show, ladies and gentlemen. I want to thank y'all for being here, for watching and joining us. Today I've got a real treat in the studio with me, Mr. Brandon Janice, and I'm so happy that you're here, Brandon, and so excited and to hear your testimony, your story, and just what you got to offer us for us today, man, to help men be better dads, better husbands, and better Christian men in the home. So
thanks for having me. I'm glad to be here, man.
Heck yeah, it's gonna be awesome.
Heck yeah, man.
Like I said, y'all are in for a treat today. This is gonna be great. So so I'd like for you just to take a second, open up, let our audience know who you are, a little bit of background about yourself, and we'll just move on from there.
Yeah, man. So like you said, Brandon Janice, Knoxville, Tennessee. I am a single dad of 3, 10-year-old Macklin, 11-year-old Cooper, girl Cooper, and then 13-year-old Hadley. So 2 girls and a boy. Became a single dad in 2020 when my wife passed away after a couple-year battle with breast cancer. So I didn't sign up for this. This isn't how I expected life to look.
Exactly.
You know, I think in life we're supposed to do it with a partner.
Yes,
you know, that's how it's supposed to look. And you know, unfortunately, over the last 4 years or so, I've kind of been doing it on my own with my community. You know, to say I do it alone is not fair. But you know, the day to day is single dad life, man. And you know, I've embraced it the best I could, and it's been a series of struggles. And you know, I wake up each day and do the best I can. And but I'm so blessed to be surrounded by some awesome people that help me walk this walk.
Awesome, man. So we're going to get into your past, but let's go ahead and go into present day right now. You're a writer, you're a storyteller. What else do you do as well?
Yeah, man. So I wrote a book soon after my wife passed away. I put a book out into the world, and it was received well, which was great. But through that, I ended up starting a publication company to help other people write books. So many books don't get written because it's hard. It's a hard industry to get into.
Exactly.
If you don't have 1 million followers on TikTok, a traditional publisher doesn't want you. And so we created this company called Blue Hat Publishing to help people like me and you put our stories out into the world. And it's been so much dang fun just to see people's words come to life and help them do that. So that's kind of my focus as a profession. Entrepreneur. I've done a couple startups. I failed miserably in most of those. But more
Amen
than anything,
yeah,
you know that,
I'm right
man.
there with you.
But more than anything, just being dad, man, that's my favorite job. That's, not because we're on the Dad Show podcast. It's just what I do, man. I tell my clients and I tell my partners, like at 3:00 every day, I'm done.
Yeah.
And, we talked about that. I don't, when the bus comes home, man, it's dad mode. And I try to be present, and I fail often, but like I try to put the phone down. I try to close the computer and just be dad.
Yes, yeah.
And I think I've done okay at it. You know, there's days that I struggle, but it's funny how respectful people are of that, boundary, I don't take calls after 3.
Yeah.
So people don't call me, right? I don't do, client, interviews or whatever it may be after 3. I mean, of course there's an occasion where it might have to happen, but you set those boundaries and people are pretty respectful of them, especially when there's a reason like being dad.
Yes, exactly. And people want boundaries.
That's right, man.
Like in the world today, everybody runs wild and they think that's what they ought to do. But like my kids, like I have to set boundaries with them because they are more secure. They sleep better. They act better if they have those boundaries. A lot of parents want to try and be friend. They want to try and, not, ruffle the feathers or anything of that nature. But, whenever you put your foot down and you set those boundaries, kids, mine do anyways. They act better and they like the more structure and they, all
and there's a mutual respect there because, we had Sunday night movie night last night. And electronics are gone.
Yeah.
So is mine though.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
I'm not on mine. I'm not, and so and I can be.
Oh man, that's so good.
I'm the adult, so I can be. There are some things I can do, but like, it's just, let's just put them down. Let's put them away for 2 hours and let's watch a movie and let's be present. Let's be here. And so again, it's just, walking the walk, it's one thing to say it, but to do it with them, it goes a long way.
Yeah. And that means more to them whenever they see that as well. Like you told me to put my phone down. Why do you have yours in your hand?
Absolutely, man.
One of our things is at dinner time, there's no devices at the dinner table. Like
for sure.
No TV on, no devices. Like we're going to sit down and I'm a fireman, so I work a 24-hour shift. I'm going a few days a week. So I don't get that time every night to sit down and be with them. And, so that's one thing that I instilled, when the kids, even whenever me and my wife were kind of dating and doing everything, like no devices at the table. I don't want to be that couple that's sitting at the restaurant. Man, we sit down and immediately like we're texting each other or, whatever and not having conversation. Now I get aggravated with my wife because she listens to everybody else's conversation. Than
she knows what's going on at every table.
Exactly.
It's so good because I remember mom, we grew up in a different age where we didn't have the devices, right? Yep. Like when we were kids, but I remember how important that family dinner time was to mom. And I got so annoyed. I always had to be home at this time and do dinner. I was so annoyed at the time, and looking back, it's like, man, that's so important. It's so good. And it does mold you into the person you become. And so to put those practices in place is so important. So good for y'all to do it too, man.
So I was at work whenever I first initially messaged you and, trying to get in touch with you, and I was working out. And so whenever you hit me back with that message of, because we were just going to get in contact, do a little 5-10 minute pre-call, and you hit me back and said, I'm spending time with my kids, my family, and we're out doing that stuff. And I was like, man, like that hit me hard because I was like, whenever I'm home, I try to do that.
Yeah.
Now I'm trying to take that time away from somebody else. You know what I mean? So it really hit me, and it was a weight on my shoulders whenever I said that. So for one, I want to apologize, but number two, man, I mean, I admire that and respect that, and I think that's the greatest thing ever.
I appreciate that.
For you to put your device down and say I'm shutting off business mode and going into dad mode at 3 o'clock whenever the bus gets there, whenever your kids get home from school. Like, that's huge, man.
Well, thank you for saying that, man.
That's awesome. That. So I kind of want to switch gears a little bit, and let's talk about your childhood. Obviously, we're going to get into everything else in a little bit, but right now I want to just kind of hit on your childhood. Being a good dad now, was there any influence in your life early, a grandfather, your dad, that instilled in you to want to be that?
Yeah, man. So you should have my dad on this podcast over me for sure. My dad.
Well, let's do a duo one day. We'll have both of you on.
He's literally the best human you'll ever meet. And I mean this when I say I've never seen him raise his voice in my life.
Wow.
He's the most even-tempered, patient, calm, loving man. I remember one time him being mad at me. And it was the disappointment in him. It wasn't the anger. It was that I disappointed him that hurt so bad because I just respected him so much, and the way he loved my mom, the way he loved us, the way he loved his friends, the way he loved his coworkers, the way he loved his church family. He just, and still does. He just loves so well. Never seen him raise his voice. Never seen him fight with mom, with any of us kids. He had 3 kids and has 3 kids, and I've never seen him get mad, which is crazy.
Wow.
It's unrealistic, right? I mean, we were great kids, obviously, but
because we're on the dad show, you can tell the truth. Right?
Yeah, no, I know, but he just, I want to be more like him every single day.
So
to this
much grace.
day. Oh, dude, so much. And just the patience of, because I mean, kids are hard, man. We are hard.
Yes,
and
I know I was for sure.
And wives can be hard, and husbands can be hard, but just to watch this man walk in so much love and grace, man, it's just been awesome. Turns out his dad was the exact same way.
That's what I was about to ask.
Yeah, his name's Bapu. He's actually 99, turns 100 on December 27th, still with us.
That is
lives
great.
over in Oak Ridge. He was the exact same way. So my dad had that model in Bapu. And I always say I'm dating a girl right now, and I said, you literally got the 5th best Janous, man, because you have Bapu, my dad, my brother, and my son, and then there's me.
Wow.
You know, just loves so well. And I had never seen Bapu in that place of anger or temper. Or he just was calm and even, and people respected him so much for that.
Yeah.
That you know, it was just, I had literally the best influences I could ever have. And I model what I do after dad, and I fail and I lose my patience. I don't have a temper. I don't yell. I just wasn't built that way.
Yeah.
But for sure, man, you know, being a single dad or being not a single dad, patience runs thin, you know, and when they're not listening or they're not moving or they're not doing, you know, what you've asked, it's hard. But I do catch myself sometimes thinking, well, how would dad have reacted in this situation?
Yeah, that's awesome.
And so I was so blessed. I am so blessed to have a dad who's my best friend to this day as my model. It's honestly unfair that I had it that good, you know, because I know so many people don't. And, you know, to see people come out of, whether it's an abusive father or it's just a mean father or an alcoholic father, whatever it is, to become great men, you know, I had it easy.
Yes.
I literally had the best example in the entire world.
Yeah.
You know,
probably didn't realize it at the time.
I
kind of took it for granted kind of deal. But
and you saw, you know, other families that you'd be around and parents that would be fighting right in front of you and all the things. And I was like, man, something different over here. And, you know, they would always say we were the Beaver family, Beaver Cleaver, whatever. Right. And so, and I believe that we had it so good when it came to just watching mom and dad love each other so well.
That's awesome. That's how so it's kind of almost polar opposites. Like my grandfather is just what you described. Yeah. You know, he's 93. We still have him with us today. He goes and works out 2 days a week, like just a statue in the community. Just like you said, so much patience, so much grace given. And then my dad, on the other hand, he wasn't abusive by any means, but, you know, would raise his voice and, you know, get mad and get angry. And me and him, for whatever reason, we was, you know, like hot and cold water. Like we just did not mesh well together. And hearing that, like you had both of that aspects in your life. And I find myself today, like, I want to be my grandfather. I always say that if I'm half the man that my grandfather is, then I'll be a pretty decent guy. Yeah. But I find myself resorting back to my childhood of, if my son doesn't listen, then I'm going to raise my voice, and then I'm going to raise my voice some more. And, you know, and just finding that middle road between the two to try and bridge the gap. But man, like if I had anything that I want to be like, it's like my grandfather, man.
We got to have my dad and your granddad on here, and there's your show right there, man.
Well, golly, I asked my grandfather yesterday, actually. I was like, Papa, because I call him Papa. Like, will you be on the dad show? Would you? He's like, I don't know. You know, that generation, I don't know if I can do that. Yeah. And I was like, all you got to do is sit there and have a conversation with him. Man. And people would love it. So hopefully, maybe we can do that in the future.
I love it.
Moving on. Further in life, you met Rachel. Now you were living in Hawaii. Is that correct?
Yeah. Living in Hawaii. I met Rachel in college through. I was a fantastic flag football player. That was we had this team in college.
Got the trophy?
We had this team in college. I was really fast. I never played tackle football. My dad was an incredible football player in high school and could have played pretty much anywhere, but I didn't go that route. I did other things, played golf, ran track, did things like that, but flag football became our thing. We ended up being really good in college, and we went to this national flag football tournament that we qualified for. And Rachel, it was in Lincoln, Nebraska of all places, and Rachel was a dancer at University of Nebraska. Some of my fraternity brothers were friends with her, went to high school with her, and so we ended up staying with her and her friends when we went there, our crew of 8 guys or whatever. And I remember on the way there, my buddy Casey, he's like, "Hey, you're gonna like this Rachel girl. I'm just letting you know. You guys are gonna hit it off." And I was like, "Nah, I'm good. And he was right. The second we got there, I was like, "Man, there's something about her. That girl's cool." And I was in Columbia, Missouri. She's in Lincoln, Nebraska. You're in college. It just didn't make sense to date. But like, there was just something about her, and we just became really good friends. We were each other's wedding date when we needed a date. We dated other people, but whenever we needed someone to show up for an event or a wedding or whatever it may be, we'd always call on each other. And I compared anyone I date to her for 10 years. I literally compared anyone I dated to Rachel. And they never were her. They dated great people, but there were, there's a difference in dating and marrying someone, right?
Exactly,
and who am I going to spend the rest of my life with and why? And I just compared everyone to her. So she was this standard. She was on this pedestal, and we never tried dating. We just were always in different places, but I had this standard, which was great. Moved to Hawaii, and I remember thinking, all right, at this point, I'm 29 years old, and I'm like, I need to shoot my shot with this girl. And so I sent her an email, because that's what you did back in those days. And so I sent her an email, and, I poured my heart out, like, hey, like over the last 10 years, I've had these feelings for you, and I've always thought maybe there was a thing here. And I was wondering if you'd come visit me on your spring break, because she was in nursing school at the time. And I poured my heart out. And I got like a 3-word response, but pretty much just said no. It's like,
after this big long
thing, it's like, no. And we had this whole thing back and forth, but so she says no, and I sit on it for like 24 hours. I'm like, dang, man, that hurt. But I'm like, okay, that's God telling me this door's closed, which is fine. I think she was dating someone at the time. She says she wasn't. I think she was, and I get the last story because, and so she said. Anyway, so it goes for about 24 hours, and I'm trying to think how I'm even going to respond to this just rejection. But also I was like, okay, God, cool. I prayed for this, and you gave me closure. And then about 24 hours later, she emails me back and says, actually, I've had a change of heart. I'm going to come.
Wow.
And but there's no expectations. We're just going to have a fun few days in Hawaii. And
exactly.
So I think it was she got a free trip to Hawaii. I don't think it had anything to do with me. But I got her there, and literally 24 hours in, we're like, we're going to get married. And
you just knew.
We just knew, man, because you know each other for 10 years. You know so much about them, and so
there's no getting comfortable. There's no, dude, where you from, or small talk of that nature.
You've done all that. You walked through some things with each other, and so I think it was 3 months later we were engaged, and then 3 months after that we were married. So it's kind of a quick thing, and then moved to Hawaii. She moved to Hawaii. We lived there for a little bit, and then ended up, over here. But it was I call it a 10-year chase, man, but I finally convinced her because I moved to Hawaii that she should come, and the rest is history. So
it's a fun chase, wasn't it?
Yeah, man. Heck yeah.
Over 10 years. What took you to Hawaii?
Golf. Yeah, I was in the golf world, and I had an opportunity to go run a resort out there. So I was a head golf professional out of the top 100 course out there, which was so dang cool. And so
yeah, that is awesome.
Woke up, one of my best buddies was with me there, so we'd go out there each morning, play 9 holes. We call it the emergency 9, just to make sure everything was good. And then our day would start, and we lived right there on the water, and it was really a cool experience.
That's so awesome.
It was great for our marriage. I mean, we had our first year out there, just me and her. I mean, there's no family out there. There's no, you have a couple friends, but it was relying on each other, and it was a simple life and super great. We had a great church, great community. But it was she and I, and it was special for us.
That's awesome. That's great. Are you from Knoxville?
No, man. So actually another weird coincidence. We got married in 2010, March of 2010. On our way to our honeymoon, my grandmother passed away here. Rachel had never been here before, so we spent our honeymoon in Knoxville.
Oh, wow.
And Rachel fell in love with it. And she just graduated nursing school, couldn't get a job in Hawaii. So we lived there for a year, but she couldn't get a job there. I remember her just calling me one day and say, we need to leave. We need to get out of here. And we could go anywhere at that point.
Yeah.
And she said, I think we should go to Knoxville. And so we quit my job and came out here with nothing. And we had some family, my aunts and uncles, my grandfather lived out here. My parents didn't yet. They ended up following us out here after we got here. Then my sister followed us out here. And so everyone but my brother's up in Seattle, followed us here. So it kind of became home for us.
Is he going to be moving soon?
No, he was at Microsoft for many years, started an energy company out there, and Seattle's home for him. So we can't get him out here.
So y'all, you got married very quickly,
mm-hmm.
Over that course of time. Now, what time period was it between? Actually, let's back up just a little bit. We actually have a connection that I noticed whenever I was doing a little bit of research for you, which is crazy. So I kind of want to hear this quick story. But my wife and I were in Vasalis as well.
Way.
Yeah. And so I seen your all speech on YouTube at one of their events. And I was like, and I think that was, if I'm not mistaken, that video maybe was from like 2016.
Yeah, 14, 15, 16.
Somewhere around there. So my daughter was diagnosed in 2015. And so we started kind of transitioning out at that point in time. But
I did not know that.
I didn't either until I was like, oh my gosh. Like,
wow.
They were
That's wild. Small
that
world.
Is. So how did you get into Vasalis with?
Yeah, man. My buddy that I lived in Hawaii with reached out to me one day and just said, hey, I've got this shake that tastes like cake, you want to lose 10 pounds or whatever it was at the time. And had no interest in building a business. I didn't know anything about network marketing or MLM or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, exactly.
But I loved the shake. I needed something healthy to drink or eat after I worked out. And so I started taking it, and then I started telling people about it. And I'm like, oh, you can make money doing this. And so started building the team, and we ended up building a massive organization just through moms and dads. We weren't going after networkers. I didn't know anything about it. I was just like, hey, you guys should try this. It's kind of same message. And yeah, we built this incredible team and created this great community, which then allowed me a space to go train larger, different organizations, different companies on building teams and culture and all that. And so created this other platform for me outside of Vasalis to go, share on leadership and culture, team building, all the things that come with building a team. Yeah.
That's awesome. Which is kind of in the aspect of put you in the position. I don't want to skip too far ahead, but whenever y'all traveled in an RV together, I assume that was setting you up for that portion as well. I want to honor Rachel for sure. So I definitely want to hit on her story. But my question initially was from the time y'all got married to the time she was diagnosed, what was that time period? Do you remember?
Yeah. So that was 2010 to 2017. So we had 7 years, 3 kids,
all right.
In that time. Actually, no, she got diagnosed in 18. Sorry. She got diagnosed in 18, April of 18. So about 8 years.
About 8 years before that. So you had 3 kids during this time period. How was marriage? How was being a dad prior to the diagnosis?
Sure, man. Well, I mean, ups and downs, right? She was the love of my life, and I chased her forever, and finally convinced her. And then you have kids, and you start to focus sometimes more on your kids than you do your wife, and you start focusing on work more than you do your wife. And so we definitely had our things pop up, and I thought providing was my number one thing. I had to be the provider. I had to hustle and provide, and I did, I pat myself on the back, man. I worked hard. I worked all the time. We were doing well financially. But it turns out that wasn't what mattered most to Rachel, she couldn't care less. And the thing is, Rachel was the most, she did not need things. She did not care for things, right? She just needed love, and she needed family, and she was not superficial at all. She just didn't need things. And I don't know why I thought that I needed to get her all the things and the nicer car and the nicer house and all the stuff. And she called me out on that a few times that I needed to be more present, and that, being gone all the time wasn't acceptable, and that's not what she signed up for. And, never to the point of I'm going to leave you. That was not a threat. It wasn't an ultimatum or anything like that. But, I sucked, man. I mean, I'll be honest, I just wasn't there. And when I was there, I wasn't there. And, found my pleasures elsewhere, I was killing it. I was on the stages. I was doing, I was a hero to so many people, but I was nothing at home, and I got caught in this trap, until one day Rachel decided that she wasn't going to have it anymore. And,
thank you for watching part 1, and come back tomorrow for part 2. Thank you for listening to the Dad Show podcast.
Thank you for listening to the Dad Show podcast. Please like, review, and subscribe.